Hello. Councils across the region have now started the process of cutting their budgets to help meet government targets. In Suffolk tonight, it's care homes and even streetlights which are under threat.
Suffolk finds itself in much the same financial squeeze as others in our region, but its decision to press ahead with outsourcing services across the board has caused widespread surprise. This afternoon in Ipswich, council leaders have been going through a list of services which could face the axe. Our Suffolk reporter Kevin Birch is at the County Council now. Kevin.
Susie, having decided because of that squeeze to go down this incredibly radical road of outsourcing the bulk of its services, slashing budgets and cutting jobs, today was the first acid test for this county council. It doesn't see itself any longer as being a direct provider of care for the elderly. The problem is it has 16 care homes for the elderly it runs across the county. So what does it do? Well, today on the table, three options: close them all, sell them on as going concerns, or close some of them and transfer the rest to the independent sector. As you can imagine, this is a real hot potato.
Ixworth Court is one of the 16 homes run by the council, and news that it could be facing closure has come as a shock for both residents and their families.
Hello, Mum. How are you? Having a nice day? Thank you.
Nancy Lark has been here for almost a year. She'll be 88 tomorrow and is worried what the future holds.
Well, I'm so happy here, and my daughter lives in the village, can visit me frequently, and if any problems arise, she's always here to help me. And I don't know what the future will be, what's going to happen to me.
They're all so settled here, they all enjoy being here. The staff are wonderful, they all know each other, and like Mum says, it is like a home from home, and it is very worrying. If they do close this, where will my mum go?
Save our care homes! Save our care homes! Save our care homes!
The message from unions today was clear. In their words, these proposals would place the council's debts at the feet of the most vulnerable in society. It's a worry shared by other campaigners.
I think the most important thing is to remember the people involved. I mean, this is over 500 of the frailest people in Suffolk, and so what everybody has to bear in mind is the welfare of those people.
I think we're all looked at as if we're just a number and, oh, they cost so much money, let's get rid of them.
Well, I would like to tell them to think again.
The council is stressing that it will listen and listen carefully, but it concedes that these proposals will create uncertainty all round, no matter how compelling the reasons for change.
Well, councillors today decided to embark on a 3-month period of consultation about the future of those homes. But, you know, it's not just here the squeeze is on. In Hertfordshire today, they announced a savings of £110 million. And a telling quote from the leader of the council, Robert Gordon, he said, this is the time for radical rethinking, not minor tinkering. From Ipswich, back to you in the studio.
Kevin, thank you very much. Well, earlier today we asked Jeremy Pembroke, the leader of Suffolk County Council, for an interview, but he declined. The council's chief executive, Andrea Hill, was also unavailable. Instead, I spoke to Colin Noble, the council's portfolio holder for adult community services. I began by asking him about the options being considered for the county's care homes. They all involve either selling off or closing them.
We are saying that we're going to go through a consultation process, look at the options for each individual care home and then make a decision about the future. But that future does not include us actually providing those care homes, because we actually believe that the private sector can do it more cost effectively than us and still provide a loving, warm, professional caring home, because we actually know that because of the number of people we support in the private sector today.
But in your report, you actually say there aren't that many companies in the private sector coming forward to actually take over these services.
Well, what we do know is we work with the Suffolk Association of Independent Care Providers, and we know that they're ready, and we know that some of our staff are ready, and we know that social enterprises are ready to step up and actually take over some of our homes, where some may close, some may transfer to the voluntary sector, the private sector, the not-for-profit sector, but we know that the marketplace is ready to actually support people in Suffolk.
You talk about consultation, but really what you're going to hear when you go out to these care homes is that they want things to stay as they are. They're not going to say, yes, please sell us off to a private company, or please outsource us. So really, does the consultation mean anything?
Well, what we're actually doing with residents is we're going to sit down and clearly go through some of the financial constraints that we are under now. We have the comprehensive spending review coming next week, and the reality is we do not have the money that we once had. And if we want to shape services that people in Suffolk want, then we have to look at all our costs. And it's a plain fact that it costs us more to deliver a residential care bed by ourselves than it does if it's done by the private sector, with just the same standard of care, just the same standard of a warm, loving home. It just happens to cost us more.
You're talking about 500 or so of the most vulnerable people in your county. They're not necessarily going to want to sit down and have this conversation with you. They're going to be worried, they're going to be scared, and their families are going to be scared. Can you absolutely guarantee that under any of these options, they will still have a home as good as they've got at the moment?
I can absolutely guarantee that, because that is the whole aim and objective of what we're trying to do. And it is about going out and seeing people and sitting down with people and going through the options so that they understand the situation we're in and what their options are for the future.
Councillor Colin Noble speaking to Susie earlier. Well, watching that with me is Anne Glover from the public sector union Unison. Are you encouraged by what you hear?
Not in the slightest, no. I think it's
They do
dreadful.
have to save money, and they have to save a lot of money, don't they? And something has to be done.
They have to save money, yes, but what they're not talking about here is reviewing whether or not the service that's being provided is the best value for money and the best service. They are determined that these homes will go one way or another.
But they do say that services won't suffer.
There's no logic in that. When you think about what they're saying, if they're saying it won't suffer and yet they're going to save money, where is that saving going to be made? Either in the terms and conditions of the staff or in the actual service that's provided, if that's cost cutting.
Are you opposed to this on ideological grounds or what?
I think, or we think, that what the council are doing is pursuing their ideology of getting rid of direct provision of services, because that is not an option within any of the services that they currently provide.
We heard from another council in the region today that they needed to make a radical rethink, not just tinkering at the edges. And that's what they're doing in Suffolk, isn't it?
What they're doing in Suffolk is saying that we will no longer directly provide any services, regardless of whether it's the best value or the best service that can be provided. They're pursuing an ideology. And yes, they've got to make savings, but they're not talking to the staff about how they can do that.
Anne Glover, thank you very much.
As we heard on Look East last night, people who claim incapacity benefit could soon find themselves being interviewed about their fitness to work. The government wants more people off benefits and back into work. So, can they do it? Our chief reporter Kim Riley has been to Clacton in Essex to find out.
It's just after 8 o'clock in the town centre. Not exactly rush hour, but the place is coming alive. Children off to school, men and women heading to work. The unemployment rate in this area is above the regional average. They're queuing for haircuts outside the barbers, and here they're queuing for jobs. Forklift truck driver Wayne Bell, married with 2 daughters, has spent much of the last 2 years out of work.
Last job lasted 9 weeks, which is quite short really. Was busy, and then work died down, and last one in, first one out, as they say.
From the heart of the town to an estate on its outskirts, the children have gone to school. It's strangely quiet here. There are many single-parent families, and not many have jobs. Jill Watson says she wants to work, but won't put her daughter into childcare.
I'll do anything, you know, as long as it's in the term time. But the only real sort of term time jobs you can find are the schools, and no one wants to give them up. So, not really optimistic.
In the 1980s, family man Rob Stephan served 4 tours in Northern Ireland with the Royal Anglians. He's since suffered severe depression and stress. On incapacity benefit, he spends his time making garden furniture.
I explain why I'm on sickness benefit, incapacity benefit, and sometimes I understand, but sometimes I think, oh, he's just a lazy bum doing nothing.
Does that make you feel angry?
It does make me feel angry, yeah, because I've served Queen and Country, and this is how people react because of my illness.
25-year-old Darren Ray, married with children, has that rare thing, a job. He's a doorman.
It is hard for other people because There's nothing out there.
Do you think they actually want jobs?
Some of them do, some of them don't, and some of them don't want to hardly do nothing.
Along the promenade, I met 34-year-old Jason Bestford, out of work for 4 years. He told me he comes here for serenity time, to relieve the numbing boredom of being out of work.
Got database and spreadsheet, level 3, I've got a diploma in IT, qualified gym instructor, level 2, bricklaying, labourer. There's none of that work down here. You can't get nothing.
The town's economy is highly seasonal. For people like Jason, the toughest months of the year lie ahead. Kim Riley, BBC Look East, Clacton.
And as the spending cuts begin to bite, Look East would like to hear from viewers affected by the shake-up. You might be left worse off, or you could end up better off. You can get in touch by phone or by email. Now, later on Look